Me and my wife, Jessie, had our daughter 2 years ago. Jessie is a smoker. She doesn't smoke a lot, but she consumes 2/3 a day. She wanted to be the one who got pregnant, and I told her that she couldn't smoke at any point in the pregnancy, and only after our baby stopped breastfeeding, she could start consuming again. She agreed. I'm against smoking. I don't smoke, but it doesn't bother me that much other people smoke, and to my delight. Jessie was never a person who smelled like cigarettes despite being a smoker. The reason I'm against it's that my father died of lung cancer, and guess what? He smoked. When our daughter was born, I managed to stay at home for 1 year and 3 months, because it hit the pandemic and home office. So we could both take care of it. Jessie also took advantage of the home office, same company, I'm in a higher position. When our company asked for employees to come back from the home office, we decided that we didn't want to put her in childcare yet, and we decided together that I would come back, and she would quit to stay at home all the time. Currently, we have a fair division of tasks at home. When I get home from work, I take care of our daughter so she can rest, and 2 days a week, part-time, I work at home so as not to overload. I know she stays overwhelmed, but I try to help. Recently, our daughter weaned, and Jessie came to talk to me that she wanted to finally start smoking again. I said that I wouldn't pay for them, but I pay for everything. I even proposed to rearrange my schedule in case she wanted to do some freelancer. She's also a designer. But I wouldn't give her the money. THR cigarettes are my limit. She was annoyed, saying that we agreed on her being SOM and that I would provide financially for the family, including her expenses, and I am going behind our agreed. I never paid back / would pay for a cigarette of hers, and she has known this for years. She's still mad at me, saying I'm using being the breadwinner to not let her smoke and forcing her to look for another way to earn money to buy something she wants. I don't know if I'm wrong, but cigarettes are a choice and a bad addiction. I don't feel comfortable paying for it. Given my family history, I always made it very clear that I would never pay for a cigarette. When we made the decision for her to be SOM, I told her I wouldn't feel right paying for her cigarette, and she reassured me that it was something I wouldn't have to worry about. She does freelance to make some purchases she wants. There are months when we are tighter and we can't do some shopping, so she does freelancing. It's rare, but it happens, and on those days, our daughter stays with me even if it's at my service. I never limited any of her purchases, ever, if not because of tight money. For more extravagant purchases of hers that I can't afford, she freelances and buys. So I suggested she do one a month that covers her entire cigarette stash, and I would help by staying with our daughter. She is not entirely financially dependent on me. When she wants to buy something that I can't afford with our money, she makes a design request. My friend came to me yesterday at lunch with screenshots of my boyfriend's Tinder profile. The pictures were all old photos, so I confronted him immediately, expecting to hear something like,
"Yeah."
I forgot to delete that. Which is cool. He denied being on Tinder at all, and my friend suggested that she make an account, set it to his specifications, and see if he turns up. And there's his profile. So, this means that my boyfriend has been active on Tinder within the past 2 weeks. I confronted him with this, and he changed his story. Now he's saying that his friend has been using his account. He shows me his phone and says, "Look, I have nothing to hide." And of course the app is deleted. So I take his phone, download Tinder, log in with his Facebook, and see that he has been active, albeit infrequently. There was one girl that he tried to meet up with back in May when I was out of town. The girl gave him her phone number, and even though he deleted whatever messages they exchanged, I still saw that he had her saved in his contacts. So that's about everything that I know. He either cheated on me or planned on cheating on me while I went out of town, and I'm sure this isn't the only time it's happened. This relationship is pretty much over. He is swearing up and down that it's not true. He doesn't use Tinder, and he doesn't know this girl. I'm going crazy with how much he's outright lying. He seems so sincere, but I know what I saw. I can't listen to him deny this one more time. This blew up while I was away. I'm sorry, I won't be able to respond to every comment. So I did some stuff that was kind of petty and stupid today. I made a fake Tinder account, matched with my boyfriend. And he starts messaging me and immediately asks me to meet him for a drink. We agree to meet by a fountain in the center of my town, and I pack up all of his stuff in a tote bag. put on a great outfit and went to the fountain. I stood kind of out of the way of the fountain in the shadows where I could watch the street that I knew he'd be arriving from. I was devastated, but I figured this way I could catch him without a doubt and end things quickly. All the time, he's messaging this girl on Tinder. But he didn't show up. 2 of his roommates did. We didn't speak, I don't know them well, but they watched me for a while. Figured out what was going on after a few more Tinder messages, and left quickly. So I wait a few minutes and I call my boyfriend and ask him where he's at. He says he's just gotten off of work and he's going to meet his roommate for a drink. I confront him with the fake Tinder profile and he's dumbstruck and furious with his roommate, who he swears up and down is behind all of this. I'm at home now, just emotionally exhausted and confused. Whatever is going on with his roommates is super sketchy and creepy. Up until this point my boyfriend and I had a great relationship. Really, no red flags anywhere. If I had already been suspicious that he was cheating, this would be a much easier break for me. The most recent message on his Tinder account, when I checked it yesterday, was sent to a girl he had matched with before we met. It said, "Would you want to meet up with my friend?" My boyfriend is the kind of person whose iPhone passcode is 0000. I wouldn't be surprised if his roommates did know all of his passwords. So, his Tinder account is still matched with my fake profile. To me, that indicates that he probably isn't the person operating the Tinder profile. If it were him, wouldn't he have blocked the fake profile immediately? A lot of people have said that he probably sent his roommates to check things out for him. I can't write that off entirely, but my gut says that it isn't true. I just don't think it's very likely. When it comes to his roommates, I'm very concerned that they have been using his profile to trick women into meeting with them. The fact that his profile hasn't been deleted makes me worry that my boyfriend is in on this. So that's about where I'm at right now. I'm worried that all of them are working together to, at best, scam women, at worst, assault them, and my boyfriend is at least passively involved. Either way, I feel some responsibility to do a little more digging. I am a 22 years old female, have an older sister, 25 years old. My sister is very sensitive about everything. When we were young, if I made the smallest comment like, "I prefer pink over blue," it would make her cry because she thought I was aiming at her by saying it. My parents would always ask me to apologize to her since she's sensitive and I'm emotionally stronger than her. My parents never controlled my sister's diet growing up, letting her have what she wants since they found it too difficult to control her. I was skinny as a stick when I was a kid. So even though my family has a long history of thyroid disease, my parents didn't think there was an issue with me. However, my sister has been overweight the majority of her life, so my parents thought she'd be the one with the thyroid issues. They took us to an endocrinologist when I was 10. I got a diagnosis for Hashimoto's thyroiditis while my sister didn't, and instead got told to exercise and watch her diet. I got hypothyroidism due to Hashimoto's, and have been on medication ever since. My sister and I moved back in with our parents due to what's happening these days. I leave my medication in a cabinet near the kitchen since I know I won't take it unless I have to actually get out of bed to do so. Apparently, I left a box before I moved out of my parents' house when I was a teen, and one of her friends saw it while they were over and asked if it was hers. My sister told them that it was, and that's why she was overweight. The box has Euthyrox written on it in big bold letters with a little picture of a thyroid gland next to it. So, yeah, pretty obvious it was meant for a thyroid condition. She's held up this farce for almost 4 years. I only figured it out when I saw her take a box of it out of my bag one day. I confront her on it, and she starts crying and telling me that she just didn't want anyone to mean to her because she's fat. She also says that it's not fair that the one with the normal weight gets the thyroid disease. I tell her to knock it off, and that she can't lie to get sympathy from people. My parents talk to me later, and they say that I was too harsh calling her a liar and she probably needs a therapist or something, and the classic, I should apologize since I'm more mature. They even tell me that they were hoping that she was the one with the thyroid issues as a child, so that they could justify her weight gain. I ask them, so you wanted your daughter to be sick instead of admitting that it's your fault because you bought her McDonald's whenever she wanted it, and never made her exercise? Now they're mad at me too. My mother is disabled due to a neurological disease. She was diagnosed in her late 30s, and I remember that she was sick and needed help. I used to really look up to her as a super mom who could overcome any obstacle. That was until my father died. My father died over 10 years ago when I was still in high school. At that time my brother and I lived with my parents. I got a job when I was in high school after he left, cleaning the house, mowing the grass, buying food with money from work, paying bills when I could, the minimum wage is low, and cooking dinner for my mom and myself almost every night. My brother was rarely at home, except to sleep or because he needed money. Over the years, my brother has been in and out of prison dozens and dozens of times for everything from drunk driving to drug possession to stealing from our mother to assault. He is currently incarcerated. No one mentions him or expects anything of him, except my mother who, in violation of a court order for her own protection that she herself asked for, sends him money and speaks to him weekly as well as sends letters. Back to my father's death, a 7-month bout with illness. Almost 2 years after my father's death, I graduated from high school and went to college out of state. I sent money to my mom when I was in college, and I distinctly remember, for example, using my scholarship I got in December to buy Christmas presents for my mom and brother, because I knew they wouldn't have anything if I won't buy. No one reciprocated, but I did not expect this. To be honest, I didn't care either until it became the norm over the next decade. That very Christmas, I was barely 18 years old, and I was collecting pennies to buy a cheap refrigerator after I returned home for the winter holidays with gifts, only to realize that there was no food in the house. My brother, in a drug-fueled rage, tore down the Christmas tree I had bought and decorated and threatened to kill himself if I didn't give him the money because no one loved him, and that would prove that I cared. It is important to note that even during this time, my mother continued to let my brother, who became a criminal, back to the house. I'll try to skip my college and graduate years, but suffice it to say that I met my current husband and spent less and less time at home. When I was at home or when my husband and I were visiting, it was like this: clean my mom's house, buy mom food, cook for mom, take care of my mom. I was and remain very firm with my mother that I would not let my brother in my life as he threatened to kill me over the prescription cough syrup, threw me down the stairs and broke down the door to get to me, and some of the money I had at the time. I have no doubt that he will try to harm my child, my husband or me in order to get what he wants. He told me he would find me and he would teach me a lesson for his perception that I wronged him for not giving him money. And I have zero contact with him. I have blocked all numbers that have anything to do with him, including friends he calls from outside the prison. P.S. My mother let him take my number from her phone. I told my mom for years that I didn't want to have my brother in my life until he stopped using drugs for at least 1 year. To date, he is unable to do so. He stole tens of thousands of dollars from her. She always says she won't let him back into her house, but she eventually forgives him and the cycle repeats. The next year, when he was released again, she told me in no uncertain terms that he would not live with her, but admits that she keeps in touch, sends him money, and thinks it is the devil in him that makes him addicted. He will return. I offered to help my mom move closer to me since I live in many states. My husband and I even asked the realtor to come out and start the process of registering our house so we could find a house with space for my mom. My only stipulation was that she not drag my brother into my son's life. She categorically refused. She also refused to go to nursing homes, despite the fact that I went to her of my own free will and received excellent recommendations from her doctors. Now that she had surgery this week, my family is out of the slums. To be honest, I'm outraged by this. I had people who couldn't even send me a mutual Christmas card and told me that I was neglecting my mother, refusing to take time off from work and go to her place to take care of her. They don't care that I don't have days off and that I will most likely lose my job. One even stated that I wouldn't put groceries on my desk. I wouldn't work for such an employer. It's easy to say those words, but say it to my hungry baby. They said, "Who do you think took care of you as a baby?" And frankly, it hurts me. Sometimes you have to learn how to deal with life. You can't just ignore it, because getting on with life means losing your job. Walking away from my toddler in his growing up years and taking care of my mother, I guess? You can probably tell at this point that I'm fed up. I am in a stalemate when literally the only surviving family members tell me to quit my job, my family, my young child to take care of my mom and help her. They also refuse to give a timeline, saying it will be as long as she needs it. I am expected to take care of her 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no questions asked. I also feel strongly that they resent my mother for asking them to do me a service. Even though I have explained many times that I offered her to stay with us and have the operation here, at no cost to her, mind you. And she refused. In response, they tell me that she has the right to be close to her friends. I also tried to explain that by bowing to her at every call. They give her an opportunity, but they don't want to hear it. They don't seem to hear me when I try to explain that. For example, helping her get out of the physical therapy room a week and a half before her doctor's recommendation gives her an opportunity, and ultimately hurts her independence. She is used to everyone doing everything for her. For example, during the last visit she was very upset that I did not take her to Walmart, because she had to go there almost before the baby went to bed. It was not emergency. She wanted to look around. My mother, in all this confusion, has taken the position that although she doesn't want me to lose my job, a good daughter should take care of her mother. Frankly, I am very hostile to this statement, because my mother did not call me on my birthday before my father died. I tried to build some kind of relationship with my son. I always try to chat with them or talk on the phone. And in the last 12 years I can count on the fingers of one hand how many times she called me just to tell me about me, or my son, or ask how we are doing. If she does call, there is always an ulterior motive, money for my brother or for her because she gave my brother everything. I'm on the edge. I can't work full-time, take care of my family, and expect to hear several times a week how bad a person I am for refusing to give up everything I've worked so hard to take care of mine. Mother. No matter what, I love my mom. My husband and his family saw it unfold and several people remarked, "Why are you even trying?" Meaning trying to schedule calls so she can talk / see my son. I invited her to my house earlier this month, scheduled plane tickets, airport assistance, etc. Just to watch her play on her phone or spend time playing with the dog instead of reading a book to my little one who just wanted her attention. Today, as if the last straw was needed, I called to check on her and she stated that she was going home against the doctor's orders because her dog needed her, because the dog was sick. First, he has a very minor skin condition that is almost 100% cured thanks to her friend giving him a prescribed ointment. Secondly, my little one got sick this week, meaning he didn't go to kindergarten for 3 days. And even after I told her about it, she never called to find out how he was. Just like she never called to check on him when he came down with the flu last year, or when he had a mysterious week and a half illness earlier this year that resulted in 4 doctor visits and a temperature of 104 degrees. I can't take it anymore. I am literally writing this as a last resort. My husband tells me not to talk to anyone. That's the whole family I have left except for one paternal aunt, because he sees me cry when hurtful comments and guilt come into play. He sees me trying to hide it from my child. But then I feel like I'm giving them what they want, right? Look at little Miss Potato, such a bad person and so inept at dealing with life. She just chose to ignore us all. But I can't defend myself all day in front of extended family members whom I've seen for over 10 years. And in some cases over 2 decades. Nothing I say will ever be good enough. I was told in no uncertain terms that I was a terrible person because I refused to leave my husband and young child and move across the county to take care of my mother. Postscript, I am not subject to the FMLA. My employer is not large enough and there is no comparable law in my state. I have 1 day of vacation left due to my son getting sick earlier this year. My husband gets almost 3 times as many days off, so took many more days to take care of him. In general, I do not want to lose my job or look for another one. It's a good job, it's just limited to a small company. She refused to move in with me. Either my husband and I are building a mother-in-law, or we are moving to a bigger house. Any aid agency or nursing home. She hesitates about allowing housework, but contradicts herself on the matter, telling me that Susie can help her if she needs anything, or that she has friends she can call, or, more often than not, she does well and can take care of herself. She wants help, but only when she wants it and only on her own terms. She told me that she would not end her relationship with my brother. I managed to get her to agree to a consultation after my brother attacked her, stole her car and pawned all her appliances. She moved to a domestic violence shelter but declined to press charges. This happened when I was 7 months pregnant, and when I refused to drive 20+ hours in a car. I was told essentially the same thing that I am being accused of now. She justifies my brother's behavior. He hooked up with the devil and he can't leave him. I've talked to the Adult Protective Services counselors and it all comes down to the fact that she's an adult. She can make her own decisions. Her doctors, although they seem to agree that she may need help taking care of herself, refuse to state that she is unable to take care of herself.